Whoever thought we would have made it this far in life and pardon
Welcome
me.
back. Pardon me. Pardon you. We pardon.
Yo, you are tuned in to the right place. The Can I Talk My Shift podcast, the number one place for self-accountability, self-awareness, and leadership in life after loss. With the lovely queen, Lashawn, Larigi Walker, and your boy, Sam Walker, INSPO, on IG, the website. Everywhere that you find me, you'll see that.
And our little co-host.
Yeah.
You might hear her breathing.
Right. Doing her thing. Getting her warmed up and acclimated to the microphone, because I know, Lord, she is going to be something to handle later on in life.
Man, yes. But it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Right now, let's keep her this tiny little potato. Let's keep her.
For sure.
This
Season 3, episode 3.
Lessons in loss.
That's what we talking about. Lessons in loss. There's always lessons in any kind of loss that you experience from a death of a person, pivotal person in your life, a job, a career, a thing, a pet, you name it, an idea, an identity,
right?
A creation, your keys,
your wallet, and loss of self.
Okay.
This is something that literally everybody experiences. Loss.
So we not even warming them up. We just going right into it.
No, we warming them up, but we just letting them know, if you didn't think this was for you, just keep listening, because something is bound to captivate you. Thank you for joining us today. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast before we get into it. Go ahead. If you're not subscribed and you're just checking us out, go ahead and hit the follow button. It's free $3.99. If you love what you hear, give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform that you are listening on, and review it and share it, because that is the one and only way that we will know that you love us and you love what we rocking with and what we're talking about. And you get to share that with your people, and your people get to share it with their people. And we get to keep creating.
And it is the prime opportune way for other people to find the podcast. So you don't have to do all the legwork by trying to share it. Mm-hmm. If you like it, if you rate it, and you download it, then more people will find it and do the same.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a win-win for everyone involved. It's an ecosystem.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So we greatly appreciate that. Follow us on Instagram. Can I Talk My Shift? DLG_ Sam Walker Inspo. That is the podcast nucleus right there in the ecosystem as a whole. And yeah, let's get it cracking for sure.
Yeah, we're trying to build this community up. So Thank you so much in advance. Let's go ahead and get into it. Lessons in loss. And I know that you haven't outwardly, talked a whole lot about how much knowledge you actually have and genius you actually have in guiding people in life after loss, but you've really impacted quite a few people along that journey in their life by sharing your story, but also just being at a level of emotional awareness and acquiring a level of emotional awareness that allows you to assist people along that grieving journey. So, talk about that, because, we both have experienced loss of a parent. We both have experienced loss of a job. Mm-hmm. We both have experienced loss of self. And so how does it apply to you, and how has it shifted you? And I have some questions that are going to be following up, but give the people a little bit of your expertise.
As far as life after loss goes? Man, I don't really know if there is expertise. Honestly, I think there's a will to want to live a life. And then there is the drive to actually do it every day. And I think anything outside of those things is just there to enable you to do those two things that I just said.
Yeah.
I think my expertise was unwarranted.
Right.
It's not like I don't think I had no plans of having this type of expertise or wisdom and knowledge, and I definitely didn't.
Yeah.
It comes from a very traumatic childhood, very traumatic background, dealing with death as early as 3rd grade. One of my favorite teacher in elementary school passing away, and you know how that rocked the whole class. In I think 4th or 5th grade, my older brother's best friend, who was like a brother to me, drowned in the lake in our old neighborhood, and that was all over the news. That rocked us. My mother passing away at 15, transitioning right in front of my face.
When you were 15?
When I was 15. Yeah, when I was 15 years old. Massive heart attack and stroke revived her with the help of my neighbor and my friend at the time. And then she passed on the way to the hospital. Very traumatic experience. And then, so on and so forth after that. Grandmother passing shortly after, cousin passing away, a really good friend of mine from elementary school. I don't know if I would call him my best friend because we known each other since elementary school. Got killed on the ocean front while I was out in Los Angeles, dream chasing. So I've had a lot of deaths that impacted me that I was never really able to discuss with anyone. Or if I did discuss it with them, I was not ready to receive what they were giving me at the time. So it sent me on a wild goose chase for answers in my own right. And I think it all accumulated, came to a head a couple years ago when I just couldn't take it anymore and I didn't know what I was really running from. And now I sit here on this microphone, on this podcast, talking about it.
Yeah.
Talking about those things and looking for a fulfilling life after experiencing those types of losses.
Right.
And being lost.
Yes.
Being lost. I feel and I think that there is a lot of us out here who have buried these types of tragic losses, and we are trying to navigate the autonomy of the life that we created while keeping that weight buried instead of exploring it and allowing it to open us to new beginnings and a new life. I also believe that for me, and maybe somebody else out there who's listening could feel the same way. Hang on one moment. I need to fix my mic.
I think that, I said expertise, right? But I think that it's probably more appropriate to say experience. Yes, everyone who is listening to this episode has experienced loss in some way, shape, or form. And we're going to go into a little bit of each of the categories that we shared earlier, losing a parent. I've lost a sibling, losing a job in whatever way that looks like, whether you were laid off, whether you were fired, whether you quit, loss of self, in both losing a close family member or even a best friend, a very close friend, who is meaningful to you, or losing a job in whatever way you lose it. I feel like we lose a little bit of ourselves also, or there is space for that to happen. There's a space that is created where we are losing a little bit of ourselves if we are not able to manage, cope, navigate in a healthy way.
Absolutely.
And I think that is where I mentioned expertise, but really I should have said experience, because it's the experience of navigating in the loss, after the loss, in some situations where we know loss is impending, right? If someone is ill, if there's something that you just know, you got the email that company XYZ is downsizing. So it's, inevitable that loss is about to happen. So being able to navigate that, I feel like, is your expertise.
I got you.
But you definitely have experience that is, I feel, most helpful to others because of the poise that you have when you are in it.
Got you. No, I appreciate it, baby. For real. I can agree with you on that level. I level out with you there. Like I said, it's unwarranted. So, when I hear you say like, oh, your expertise, it's like, damn, like, I mean, she ain't lying, but it's still weird. Like navigating the whole possibility of coaching and all of those things was never really a reality for me. So when you give me compliments, I'm still learning to just receive it and not reject it in the kindest way. You know what I'm saying? But now I appreciate it. And also navigating this new experience on actually taking my experiences and being able to utilize them in a way that's beneficial to the community and being of service to others. I am in the process of working on my end-of-life doula certification. I know that there is a calling for more men in that space. Not only learning to bring new life into the world via birthing doulas and as men and dads who are helping birth their children, but also those that are exiting this plane in this realm of existence and helping the family members that are left behind navigate that loss, as well as preparing people ahead of time with resources. Because you can never be you can't be prepared for a loss of somebody who has been instrumental in your life. It doesn't matter if you have all of your documents in order. Yeah, that'll ease the process. If you have bank account information, wills, trust, all of that stuff set up, it is imperative that you do, but it will only lighten the load, but there will still be a load and a weight that comes with that loss.
Right.
So I'm embarking on that journey, and this podcast will help me market the service, right? Once I become certified. And I'm just embracing that. I'm embracing that calling wholeheartedly.
Right.
So, but back to what you were saying. Yeah. The thing about it that I've learned too in my own experience, and we had a conversation about this maybe about a week ago, you and I. And I think we were talking about Marina's experience at school. Like not the racism, but just the negative experiences with classmates, certain classmates.
Yes.
And saying how, you know, my household growing up, they never prepared me for gaining understanding on my emotions. They never prepared me for navigating the wave of emotions that I would feel. And this ain't no slight to them. I'm just saying what it is. And so what I was saying to you, remember, I was like, yo, if we start teaching our kids at an early age that, hey, the reality of life is that you are going to experience some things that are not in your best interest. And I need to make sure that you are equipped to be able to handle it in the best ways possible. And that means getting very detailed with the emotion and giving them the vocabulary necessary for them to articulate what they're feeling. Because a lot of the times what I see and what I experienced in my own life is that I'm on the baseline emotions. I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm happy, I'm these things, and I can't fine tune it to really understand it and comprehend it and push through or clear it out. And so one of the things that I'm learning now is, like, as adults, we having to like go back to school to literally become emotionally intelligent to then be able to navigate how we are being, how we're showing up at work or in our relationships, our romantic ones, our friendships, and helping to unravel the trauma within family to then be able to move forward. Because we got people who are breaking off and saying, fuck family, I'm out here, right? Like, I'm gonna find me a new family. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that if you've had trauma, like traumatic experiences that, you know, you just can't come back from. I no way, shape, way, form condone you to go back to a person that was abusive in any way. But if it is something that you can push through or move forward from, I highly encourage it. Because we need unity, right? Like, we don't need any more division.
Right.
So my experience is that if I was equipped with just that little caveat of, hey, everything's not gonna go your way in life, and I'm prepped for it in a way where it's like, these are the things that you are likely to experience in these circumstances, I think life would have been a lot different.
Right. Or even just having things in place, right?
Yeah.
You know,
we ain't had no will.
There's
no will. We had no trust. We had none of that.
There's a lot of people, families in our community. I mean, maybe we're seeing it more now, where people are setting themselves up, making sure that things are in place in such the case that something happens. But I know, you know, there are a lot more who don't have those things in place. And I've experienced both sides. You know, I experienced when my dad passed away in 2001, he basically had everything in place. He had, you know, there wasn't a whole lot that my mom had to do. My older brother had to assist her with. outside of, notifying companies of his passing. Man. But as far as getting, you getting your affairs in order, right? Making sure that, is everything cool with the house and the mortgage? Is everything cool with the cars and insurances and things like that? I don't think at that time, if I was 19 when he passed away.
How old was he?
He was 55.
Okay.
He was 55, which, I'm thinking about it now and it's like, dang, that's young, and he passed away from he had leukemia. He went into remission, but he ended up getting sepsis. So he got an infection. Okay. Which basically made him too ill. And after chemo, radiation, your body is just too weak to fight off something like that. So that I learned much later that is how he passed. But all his things were in place. Now I look at the other side and my twin brother who passed away earlier this year in January, he didn't have a will. Right. He didn't have anything in place. I mean, outside of conversations leading up to his transition, we would not have known what to do with any of his possessions had he not had conversations with individuals. And we were trustworthy enough to uphold those wishes for him. So just being in a position where you can help people navigate, hey, you might want to prepare yourself in these ways, because that's the last thing that anyone wants to think about.
Yeah, but it's like it needs to be one of the first things that happens as you are building a family, as whoever the children are, if it's not being talked about enough, as you see your parents, if they are still alive, getting older. And I think the connotation around the conversation has to change. Yeah. I think that it needs to be as necessary as the birds and the bees talk.
Absolutely.
Like it's got to be that.
Absolutely.
Because that's one of the things that got our culture in the position that it's in now anyway, because we've had elders and ancestors who have had land and houses and businesses who didn't have it in order to where it would be passed down, nor were we looking at the importance of it as the generation coming up behind. Like, hey, this is something that needs to stay within our family and in our culture. So there's been a ton of missed opportunities throughout the generations of time, right? As a majority, I'm gonna say.
Yes.
And I know the ones who have done it, they're like an anomaly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the families who do it now, it's like an anomaly, I'm sure. And the entire conversation, has to change. The emotion around it, it can be emotionally charged. That's okay, but we got to be able to push through and understand what's really happening. Right. And get a better grip on the reality of things and take the spookism out of this shit, because it's a real thing that's going on. We're losing a lot of territory. Right. And we're losing a lot of resolve, mental resolve.
Yes.
Around this shit.
Yes. I mean, you don't have things in place. I've heard and seen it break up families, or at bare minimum cause a type of animosity that makes you not want to really be around those family members, because there were just things that were not in order.
Facts.
We got this land, but it was in such and such's name, and well, they didn't pay the taxes on it, so now the city has it. And it's like,
right,
who knows what could have been done with the land? Maybe you don't do something with it, but your grandchildren do something with it. You just don't know.
I'm telling you now, in my family, from what I've gathered from other family members, we had like 100 acres. We had 100 acres, and I don't know if it was lost through death or if it was sold prior to. But what I'm saying is there wasn't no conversation that happened amongst that generation before.
Yeah.
That came before me. They never got the opportunity to really talk about that or get put up on game.
Right.
I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying, because if it was that, then that would have been passed down like, hey, we missed a prime opportunity to take over Pop's, land and acres and things like that. I know that it wasn't a discussion.
Right.
So what I'm saying is there's a lot of prepping that should go into these things when we consider creating a family, when we can consider thinking of a future that we can maintain.
Right.
As a microcosm and the macro. And then for me, like, I think another tidbit personally is this idea that we have of how life is going to be. We get so fixated on that idea. I know I did. I got fixated on an idea of how my life was going to be. And then when my life was no longer going to be like that, not because I couldn't make it happen, but just because the person could no longer be there with me. There's nothing that I can do. There's no amount of money. It's not like, you got chemo and the person get to go through chemo and then there's a possibility that they'll make it and then you all can continue to live life. It's not like, I got this big deal coming through and if this money hits, then we can all go and then we can live the life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was none of that. It's like, there's literally nothing that I can do for the plans that I had with this person that was in my life.
Right.
Right. And so your whole vision is shattered. And then I put a lot of energy into that. Time, belief, right? Faith into that plan. So when it's derailed sporadically, like it's not like, I think deaths are different. So when you experience something that comes out of left field versus like, somebody who is ill and you're watching them deteriorate, you can really prepare for that.
Right.
But when it's like just so sudden and it come out of left field and it's like just 5 minutes ago we was having a convo and now you're dead.
Right.
Like that's crazy.
Right.
That's some crazy stuff to fathom, and then doing it at 15.
Exactly.
So, but what I'm saying is learning to surrender and let go of how life should be and embracing how life could be. That was the thing for me, because that could is so much in that could. The should is so limited.
Yes.
The should for me was so limited, but the could is so vast. And once I got that, everything started to open up. The days weren't as gloomy. The alcohol didn't taste as good. The smoke didn't hit the same. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And then eventually got to the place where it was like, enough is enough. And I'm cool on those things. And now fast forward 4 years sober, and here we are having a conversation. So life after loss is very interesting because it's really all on you. There isn't any one or any person or thing that can really make you say, I'm okay. It's got to be you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And this, I'm glad you went into the conversation that you did, because it is a lesson in how loss, how it changes us, how it changes the relationships around us.
Yeah.
How it makes us or shapes us into who we are, or who we think we are supposed to be, versus who we actually are. And, then just navigating after, after it happens. You touched on a whole lot of, a whole lot of the suddenness that happened in your mom's passing, which, I mean, it can rock anybody's world, but for it to be you at 15 versus, say, you at 29.
Yeah.
Very different. So,
especially because she was in her late 40s.
Right.
So, it was way different, yo. Like, because my mom was my road dog. So I know, like, people, us as men, we'd be like, yo, mom is your first love. And for anybody who has that relationship and is like, yo, my mama that's my girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how my mom was for me.
Yeah.
So to lose that in the fashion that I did, I didn't know that it would impact me the way that it did.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody can prepare themselves for a death like that when someone is that instrumental in your life and in your family's life, because it ain't even all about me.
Right.
She was a sister, right? She was an auntie. She was a cousin. She was a mentor. She was a coach. She was a friend.
Right.
So all of those people that she impacted felt that. And I learned that the night that she was pronounced dead, how many people showed up to the hospital. It was nuts. It was like a movie scene.
Wow.
Nah, it really was. It was like a movie scene. And her step team came. All of these people from the high school came, from the church, just all her different endeavors and friends that she had from growing up in that area.
Yeah.
The family members that lived with us or not lived with us, but lived in the area. It was nuts. It was so many people that came to the hospital when they got the news. My coaches and teachers from my school
right
came there.
Wow.
Teammates of mine on the football teams, parents coming to the hospital.
Wow.
You feel what I'm saying?
She made impact.
Yeah, for sure. So when I seen that, it was so crazy because I didn't really cry at the hospital like that. I cried when I got home.
Yeah.
I think I went to my dad's that night after all the chaos died off and all that. But I was going somewhere with this. Oh, just saying that I learned, how grateful and how lucky I was because I got to be with her every day. And the way that she impacted them people, and she was only with them a couple hours out the day.
Right.
And they showed up like that.
Yeah.
It lets me know the type of woman that was in my life.
Yes.
Right. So it also allowed me to see why it hurt so deeply, because I had that every day. If she can do that for people to come, and she's only been in your life X amount of hours per day for like a few years, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was birthed from you.
Right.
So it was a whole different level for me,
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's deep stuff.
It is. And we want you as listeners to keep in mind, we're not doing this episode for it to be solemn and
No, not at
pitiful or make you feel bad. We are doing this episode because we want to make sure that you know that support like this exists, right? Support in the form of being able to reach out when you don't know who to reach out to. There is a title for a role such as end of life doula that can not only support you in navigating the transition, but support your loved one in their transition. Now, again, it's quite different if it's a sudden loss, but that type of support is there for you in the case of the sudden loss, and in the case of someone whose health is declining. Mm-hmm. That support is there for them because we all still need someone. And
we need each other.
Yes.
It's not cool anymore to say I'm cool and you ain't fucking cool.
Right.
That shit is dead, man. That's not the wave no more. That's not the vibe. It ain't none of them words.
Trying to figure it out for yourself.
Listen, the coolest thing you can do is be honest and then be transparent and come clean with yourself about what is really weighing on you.
Right.
Because we can't continue as a people and as a culture to do what we've been doing, how we've been doing it. It ain't gotten us anywhere except where we are today.
Right.
A bunch of liars who are unaware, or actually very aware of how they feel, but are unaware of how to explain it.
Right.
And let go of it.
Right.
And they use that as fuel and they keep harming others, and we keep this fucking cycle going, and we need to stop it, yo. Mm-hmm. Period. We got to stop it.
And it bleeds into not just loss when you lose someone that you love, but I mean, look at the job market. Yeah. I've lost a job or jobs in a number of ways.
Yeah.
I have been laid off from jobs. I have gotten let go from jobs. And I have also resigned from jobs. And we don't realize how much that affects us. The first time I was truly fired, let's just call it what it is. I learned later. Yes, it impacted me in a very, very strong way, but I also learned later that from the person who did the act of firing, that they did it to cover their own behind.
Yeah.
So when you are in situations where even you're doing the work that you're supposed to be doing, that you are loyal to a particular position, and yet things like that can still happen, it's a mind screw, because now you're like, well, who do I trust?
Right.
I can't even be loyal at the place that I am, if I want this to be my career, if this is just the next stepping stone. I can't even really trust anyone around me because I don't know other people's motives. So when loss of a job happens, you have to know how to navigate that too, because it can change you. It will change you.
It can make you bitter.
Absolutely. I was bitter. I was bitter.
Because as you're spiraling and that worry and that angst comes, like, yo, where am I going to get my next dollars from? You know, even if you have savings that can last you a certain time, you're not trying to dip into that. And, you know, I get it. I feel you.
Bless you, Boat. And it's not and yes, I thought about that. Like, oh my gosh, you know, I've been working this job. I've been doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I have this, you know, integrity that I'm trying to uphold. But, you know, it's more so the bitterness of how could this person, like that's what I held on to. And I had to learn. It took a very, very, very long time, for whatever reasons it did. And before, one, I forgave, and two, before I could really let go of it in my own head, because I felt that I was wronged. I felt that I felt like I was wiped of my opportunity to be in the career that I thought was for me. Now, fast forward all these years later, and it's like, well, maybe you weren't meant to be in that.
Yeah.
But in the moment, you know, when you're in it, you're not thinking about that.
Because you want what you want.
Yeah. And so being able to look at every situation of loss as it pertains to this industry of job loss, it's like you have to have a type of mind that says, okay, what's next? Mm-hmm. You know, be in your feelings, have your emotions, have your experience, you know, experience your feelings, whatever way you need to experience them. But in order for you to get through and get to your next blessing, your next opportunity in as it pertains to the work that you want to do, you have to be able to say what's next, because we are multifaceted. We are dynamic beings, and we stifle a lot of our gifts when we hold on to said bitterness, when we can't get past the why did this happen to me. And I think that's important for people to realize too, because again, being that it changes us, it changes the relationships around us, it changes and shapes who we are as we continue to move ahead and forward in life.
Yeah.
So I think with that, it's the matter of experiencing your experience and then asking yourself, well, what's next? What gifts do I truly have that I haven't allowed to shine? And what's next for me?
Yeah. Okay. I feel that. I feel that. I'm watching this new version of you over here on this microphone holding Sakara. It's just dope. I get intrigued and mesmerized by it sometimes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm thankful, and I need to thank her. Well, I need to thank her for being so quiet, and now she's started to get get vocal. But
I think it's important that she sees that we do this. It's almost akin to like when artists bring their kids into the studio with them and watch them and let them see them recording. And, you know, I hear about all of those different stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just think it's dope.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the audience will mind.
I know hope it's real. The audience doesn't mind.
Yeah, we're doing it intentionally. It's not like we're trying to hide it, you know, like, oh, we trying to keep her quiet. Like, no, she's breastfeeding right now. Her has been breastfeeding, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, I believe that even infants remember little nuances like this.
Yeah.
You know, this what we're doing is a product of the results of what happens when you lose something. What we're doing right now. You know, we've been in positions where we have, you know, lost our jobs. You know, we have had loss of loved ones, and it's really in our court. The ball is in our court to say, all right, well, what's next? I have wanted to get back on the mic with you, and this year has just been a challenge. Losing my twin right early in the first week of the year. The first week, we drove to Virginia on New Year's Eve, and we're in Virginia New Year's Day, and we spent the first 6 days or the first 2 weeks of the year saying goodbye to my brother, and then, celebrating, having a celebration of life for him. And I was not expecting to have my year start off like that. And so navigating the loss, which, you were right there, his transition was one where we were kind of given the script for him. He was at a certain decline, and there was just nothing else that could be done. So, we were all around him as he transitioned, and even knowing that it was coming was still hard, because you don't want to see that last breath. You don't want to say, I love you, and them hear it for the last time. You don't want those last pictures to be the last pictures that you take. So
especially as a twin.
Especially as a twin, he was my only blood, my closest blood in life. We were adopted into our family, and, it's just different. I love my family. I will say this. You might hear this in another episode later down the road. I love my family. There is nobody like my family. And there is something to say about being adopted and not being around your own DNA for most all your life. And he was the only blood that I had closest to me for the point up until, January this year. And I've gotten to know biological family, but it's just not the same. It's not the same.
And that's okay to say. You don't got to feel no guilt on that.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not a shot at nobody. That's at all. That's the reality of the situation.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
we went 22 years.
That's what I'm saying.
Not knowing anybody.
Yeah.
And now this second half of our life, yes, we've gotten to know various members, and, as adults, it's different. It's different. Everybody's doing life. Everybody has their own agenda, and, like you said, no slight to anybody, but said all that to say, the way that you supported me, my family, just your presence offered a calmness of it's okay, helping me, helping my mom, helping my sister, family understand that it's okay to celebrate the life. Because after his services, we went back to my sister's house and we're telling stories, good stories.
I remember
about him and his dog Smoke, and
big head, rockhead Smoke.
Yes, and so I am grateful for how that relationship shaped me, because it was up and down, me and my twin, especially in the latter years. It was up and down, but you helped me to be able to rest in where I was, and also remember the great memories of him. And you held space for, and you still hold space for, when those times come up where I get emotional, and help me navigate the grief and the joy that I've been experiencing throughout the year.
Yeah.
So I really thank you for that, because it helps shape me into also the mother that I want to be for Sakara, and helping her, because you've given me tools. I can now give her tools when things come up in her life, like loss, so I always am going to give my kudos to you. I'm always going to give you your gold stars and your brownie points, and Sakara said it best. I'm always going to give that and offer that to you, because I know one thing we talk about on this podcast that will come up in various episodes is having a healthy relationship, and being able to celebrate you is something that matters to me. So
I appreciate that love.
It's not fake love over here, people. Like, I'm not just bigging him up because I feel like it's the best thing to do on the podcast. I big him up because
when we get off here, she gonna go back to throwing the glass against the wall, y'all.
I big him up off the mic also, so it's authentic. It's truly authentic.
No, I really appreciate that love, and watching you navigate the turmoil, the ups and downs this year. It's been pretty eye-opening. I think we don't talk about it as much as men. Again, that thing where it's like there's so much that you can do for a person that you care for.
Mm-hmm.
But when that's not enough, what are you to do?
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing that even though I'm showing up and I'm doing what I'm doing, it's still not going to stop the pain.
Mm-hmm.
That part hurts. But then I learned to step outside of that and not make it about me.
Yeah.
Right? And so hopefully whoever's listening, you can take that tidbit and do it yourself too. Mm-hmm. When you're dealing with loss, or someone else is dealing with loss that's close to you, and you know that you're trying, and you know, like, hey, I'm doing all of these things for this person, not for them to acknowledge that you're there, but to really help them. And it's still not enough. It's not enough only because the thing that they need, they can only find in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
In themselves, You don't make it about you and then you get down on you because it's not enough.
Right.
It's not about you. It's still about the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing. And I wrote about that in my book as well, where a person makes someone else's death about them, we make it about us. And we got to step out of that framework and out of that mindset, out of that thinking, and really start considering the person who just transitioned as well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of my animosity and things came from thinking the first way, which is like, oh man, like I'm alone and I'm this and like I'm going through this and I got to deal with this, and you're not going to be here at my graduations. You going to miss my weddings and you going to miss your grandchildren. And I got to, like, you see what I'm saying? It's all this I shit.
Yeah.
It's all this me shit that goes on in grief.
Right.
And until you're able to step outside of yourself and think to yourself one moment, like, wait a minute, I'm acting as if like my mom wanted to bounce.
Right.
I'm acting as if like she wanted it to be like this. So hold on for a second. See what I'm saying? Like you really start to, so when you're dealing like watching you, knowing that it's like, yo, it's not gonna always be like this, fam. Like she's not gonna be in this low moment or in these all of these lows for the rest of our relationship.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to allow her to feel it, because that's what's needed. That's what's necessary.
Yeah.
Cause I'm sure there could have been a time, there was a point in time where I was like, man, ain't nothing working. And it's just hard. Like, I don't want to see you like this. And then I'm taking it on like I ain't shit because I can't do, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like watching you come out of that, not unscathed, but unafraid to wear the wound.
Mm-hmm.
To take the dressing off the scar and show it. I love that. And I admire that about you.
Thanks, love.
I do.
Thank you.
And I would hope that anybody else out here listening could do the same.
Mm-hmm.
You give them the space and you give them permission to do the same. Feel me? So, shoot, she might want another boob or some shit. I don't know.
Let's see. We'll see. I thank you. It has been a journey, because not only have I been navigating those emotions, but I've been navigating the emotions of just, new motherhood, having my hormones have the dramatic drop that they did after having a baby are, man, crazy. So couple that with when the feelings of sadness wave over me, and then this drop of hormones, and you're even more emotional. And some of those times you don't even know why. I could be emotional because I just saw, the Limu Emu on the Liberty insurance commercial, and don't know why, but it's, Limu Emu, give him a chance. I don't know. But I am grateful for the space, because you, from that day of Juan's transition, I remember holding his hand for like 2 hours, like an hour before up to the hour, an hour and change after he passed away. And you said to me, it's okay to let go, because his soul is at rest now. And what you're only holding on now to this physical body, and his soul has already ascended and transitioned, and that essence is no longer there. And for whatever reason, that gave me a lot of comfort in knowing, like, this body, he wasn't feeling good in this body. He wasn't healthy in this body.
Right.
He had all kinds of medications at that point running through his body, just keeping him alive.
Yeah.
And so going into the very beginnings of loss of someone, of a job, of yourself, because heck, I felt like that was half of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, because we have very different traits and behaviors, mannerisms, ways of being, I felt like that part of him that was gone, who was the comedian, who was the diva, who was, the one that just kept everyone laughing. I don't have that. So, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Like, that essence in the world is gone, but it's not really. Not if you continue to honor that person and celebrate that person. And I don't know. I just know that you saying that, not that I need permission for things, but we all need that assurance that says it's okay to let go. It's okay to continue the journey, because you're still here. So what else are you going to do? And you didn't say it that way, but it's okay to continue the journey because you'll find new ways to live and thrive. Yeah. And I think that you've done that, even though your journey also has been one of ups and downs. I see the times where you just really miss your mom. Yeah. I see the times where you allow yourself to feel that. And I see the times where you come out of it because you've been able to have that release. Right. And I think that for anyone listening, another tip, make sure that you are, again, allowing yourself that release. We all grieve and celebrate in our own individual ways. But if we don't even allow ourselves to experience the grief, to experience the celebration, the big wins, the small wins, then we are stuck smothering ourselves, drowning in emotions that we're not allowing to be free and be out in the, out in the world. So anybody, if you feel like you're holding on to something, or you have been holding on to something, you are holding on to something and you don't know what to do with it. If you don't want to talk to anybody in this given moment, be sure to know that it's okay to have your own moments of release, whether that's cry, whether that's yell, whether that's write, whether that's dance, whether that's, honoring that person in whatever way, honoring that situation in time. You can honor a loss of a job by recognizing what you learned and recognizing what you are going to take with you into the next career path. Right. You can honor who you were and still celebrate the person that you're becoming. Yeah. That's a fact. I don't think I could say it any better. For real, like, we're not designed just biologically. We're not designed to hold things in. Mm-hmm. Food comes in, it's digested, and then it's peed out, it's pooped out. Right. Right. You run, you get overheated, you sweat. Mm-hmm. Toxins come out with the sweat. Mm-hmm. You cry, you spit. You know what I'm saying? You breathe. Something is constantly coming out. Mm-hmm. So we literally go against our nature when we try to hold things in, right, thinking that we're holding it together. Right. While we're unraveling inside. Which is why it's so heavy, because it's just not our nature. First, our nature is not to be in that type of stress anyway. Right. But that's a whole nother thing. Just taking it to where we are, or staying where we are right now in this day and age, is like we not even designed to hang on to that type of grief, right, that type of pain. We are supposed to be able to process those things through fellowship, through the exchange of the emotion via communication, to then be able to process it, heal from it, and then utilize it in the best way. Yeah. Moving forward. So, yeah, it gets tough when you aren't equipped with how to navigate in a life like that. Mm-hmm. Of course, we can go on and say, well, there's plenty of opportunity to, for people to get help and aid, and there's God, but then it's like, well, yes, I believe in that. Yet and still, what's the framework for your approach to a conversation with God? Right. With the ancestors, mm-hmm, with Jesus, if that's what you believe in. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
people are getting caught up in the modality too before they even get to the point where they can have an open conversation with the entity that they believe in. They stuck at, is my approach even right?
Right.
Because based on what I was taught and growing up, you know what I'm saying? And the work that I haven't done to keep that relationship, like, it's just so many nuanced things. So I feel where you're coming from. It's but it gets lighter. It lightens up. Life can be heavy at times. Life can be light. It's all in really how you want it to be. It's really how you want it to be.
Right.
At the end of the day. If you want life to be heavy, or if life is heavy, it's probably because you want it to be that. There is actually, and this is the self-accountability part on this pod, right? And you might take this with a grain of salt, and I'm cool with it. But there is a part of you that likes the pain. There's a part of you that likes the heaviness of life if life is heavy. I'm telling you now, it's the weirdest thing, but it's true. There's something that comes along with it that is filling that part of you and allowing you to stay in that heaviness.
Right.
And you got to figure out what it is in order to supersede it. For real. They don't talk about that in counseling, y'all.
They don't talk.
They don't talk about it that deep.
If they do,
they don't talk about it like that, man.
If they do, find the name of that therapist.
Yo, and drop
talk
it.
To them.
Put it in a comment. Drop it in the DM so we can shout them out. Cause I'm telling you for real, like, and this ain't nothing that I got from no books or nothing. Like, this is really intuitive talk. This is through experience. Yeah. You know, there was a part of me that liked that was my story because it was something that I could anchor in, because I could always feel like I triumphed over something. So then someone will respect me.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, but you don't want that to be your story all the time. Like, you know, how are you utilizing that tragedy in a way that isn't wholesome?
Yeah.
And sincere. You feel me? Like, so yeah, you got to ask yourself some of them type of questions when you navigating this life after loss. If you really trying to be like in a place where you can experience joy again, if you ain't experiencing it.
Right.
You got to fight for your joy.
That's a fact. Joy.
Yeah, you got to fight for that joy. Like, you got to. It's not going to be handed to you. It ain't going to be, cooked up by somebody else and put on a plate for you to eat it. You got to get in that kitchen every day inside of you and generate that joy from the inside out. Because it becomes insatiable if you want to search on the outside.
Right.
You'll be you'll be fucking with the wrong people.
Man.
You'll be drinking the wrong drinks and eating the wrong foods and going in and moving to the wrong places and working the wrong jobs. Trying to find that joy, boy. You will, for real.
That is a fact.
For real.
That is
whole time you running
fact.
Away. Think you running the joy. You running away. You running away, yo.
Right.
For real.
Right. Man, lessons and loss, man.
Yeah.
Lessons and loss. I'm grateful for this conversation. This was a good one. It was a little heavy because, I know for me at least, the sadness, the grieving, the heavy feelings, they don't always stay heavy. It does get lighter. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
It's very new for you.
Yeah, this is very new. Yeah, in this season, it's very new for me. But I can even think about my dad and be sad for fill in the blank reason why I miss him so much. And it's been, going on 22, 23 years. And, I don't know that I like it when people are like, oh, it gets better. It gets better. It's like, no. I don't know that's the right word. So, death and transition etiquette, don't tell people it's going to get better.
It doesn't. No, that is the worst thing that you could give someone if they are in the midst of experiencing grief and all of that. Like, hell no. It does not get better. What happens is that the weight stays the same, but you become aware and you become equipped.
Right.
Your ability to handle it improves. Mm-hmm. But the thing itself will always remain the same, if not get more intense as life goes on. And that is okay. Don't you let nobody tell you ever that the feelings that you got for somebody who passed away should not be heavier as time goes on. Don't you do that shit. I'm telling you, as a friend.
Right.
Don't do it. Yo, but your ability to process gets a whole lot better if you want it to get better.
Right.
You gotta want it. You gotta want to get better, and you gotta want it, your understanding, to improve and increase. So that way, when the wave does come, you know exactly what you need, and you're not on a search for somebody to give you what you think you need. You know what you need in the moment to process it and deal with it, and be okay.
Right.
I know. I remember one of the times when I told you I'm listening to one of the songs. Remember the bro had a song on his story, and I was like, yo, this song fire. And then I listened to the song. We was about to walk out the door, and I put on the song, and it caught me. And it made me sit my ass on that couch, and I just bawled.
Yes.
Bawled and cried. And you were like, your mood, it just came out of nowhere. But I knew I've been trying to get that cry for God knows how long. I've been trying to get it. And the song unlocked it for me.
Yeah.
Alex Isley, fire artist. She is fire.
Right.
Sat me down on that couch, got that cry out, and went about my day.
Yeah.
Because I don't let crying dictate my whole entire mood.
Yeah.
I can have a session where I cry, and that's what I need for that moment, and I know how to pull myself up out of that and continue my day. And those are the things that you learn in life after loss. Instead of it being like, oh, I'm crying and like this is the worst thing ever, and now my whole day gotta be like this. It's like, it don't.
Yeah.
It don't gotta be like that. Yeah. So
you can experience your experience and then say, what's next?
For sure. So yeah, don't let nobody tell you, oh, it gets better. Oh, it gets better. No, it don't. Stop that lying. We get better. We get better. It does not get better.
Right.
The loss becomes more intense.
Right. As you experience, especially if you've lost someone as a younger person, but even if you lose someone as you get older, there's always things to experience in life. And when you are expectant of doing those things, celebrating those things, experiencing those things with the person that you've lost, it rips the Band-Aid off. It rips the Band-Aid off, and it's okay to experience that Band-Aid coming off and that wound feeling fresh, because that is someone who meant something to you. That is someone who mattered to you, and you are allowed, and if no one has told you or if they try to stifle your feelings, you are allowed to experience whatever comes up for you. It's natural It's very natural. What's unnatural is bottling it up and saying, oh, I'm fine. Because all that is doing is basically putting everything in this pressurized can. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it breaks and, as soon as someone cracks open the can, everything comes out, spilling out. You can't control it. And now you're stuck, being in this erratic way that you didn't have to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I think this all goes across the board. If you lose someone who means something to you, if you lose a job, situation, place that means something to you, or even that doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but it was yours and you lost it, whether it be the job, whether it be the pet, whether it be the car, whether it be the home, it means something to you. You're allowed to feel the way that you need to feel in order to get to the next step. And it also matters in the case of losing yourself. It's okay to be angry that a part of you feel that a part of you is gone. You feel like you've lost a part of yourself. In all three cases, remember that you can travel a new path. You can find a new purpose. You can even celebrate that old self. You can celebrate, you can grieve and also celebrate that old self of you. I hear a lot of people, moms especially, I don't know if I hear too many dads saying it, but a lot of moms saying, oh my gosh, I'm losing myself in motherhood. I felt like I've lost myself in motherhood. And no shade to that, because I can see how it happens. Everything becomes about the baby, the family, the job, the fill in the blank, everything before her, which is why in our previous episode, if you check out episode number 2, where we talked about being sure to take care of yourself, not losing yourself and losing your routine, but getting back to that to feel like yourself again. I think that's so necessary to remember that you can always get back into whatever way of life, routine that you want to. When you feel like you're losing yourself, you don't have to live in that. You don't have to let that live rent free in your soul, in your body, in your spirit. You can experience it and then politely evict it by doing things that allow you to come back to yourself. So keep that in mind. Chew on that.
Cooking. Yo. You see, I'll just be quiet. I'll just be over here listening like, yo, she is on it.
Oh, man. Thanks, love.
It, yo.
Thank you, love. I appreciate you.
Yeah, this is another fire episode, another dope talk. I hope that it's always my intention for our listeners to take value home.
Mm-hmm.
Little nuggets, little trinkets of inspiration that they can apply to circumstances that they're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And I think that we gave them a lot.
I think so too. And you know what else I also think is can be supplementary help to this episode is your book, Unity is the Shift. I think that book that you penned so well, it includes a lot of nuggets, probably that we didn't even touch on. Some that we did, but there are a lot that we didn't touch on because, when we're talking about lessons and loss, really what we're also saying is we need to get back to community and finding the unity in that versus continuing to stay divisive, continuing to, try to do it on your own, continuing to not acknowledge what's there. And I think that the listener would gain a lot of value from being able to go through the different chapters in your book and also have reflection and start to heal, I think that's a wonderful resource. So go ahead, tell them where they can get Unity is the Shift.
My first ever self-published book titled Unity is the Shift. Unify your heart and mind at all costs. You can find that on my website. You can find it on Amazon. And you can find it on barnesandnoble.com.
Mm-hmm. What's your website?
samwalkerinspo.com is the website.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had an issue with the domain and I have to buy it back. So if you go under my link tree, Sam Walker Inspo, you can see it'll still take you to the website. It'll take you directly to the book and you can still check it out from my actual website and received a signed copy, but it is not Sam Walker Inspo. If you type that in, it won't take you to it. I got to work on getting my domain name back.
We'll put a link. We'll put a link in the show notes area for you so that you can get access to the book. Get you a signed copy, man, because it's nothing like getting that authenticity in your hands.
Right, and that's neither here nor there. Like the domain thing is light work. That's lightweight.
Yeah.
The heavy work is the book, self-published, 11 chapters, airplane read, which means you can take it on the plane with you, and in one plane ride, you can finish the entire book. It's been done numerous times. It's been tried. It's been tested, and it is true.
Except if you're going from like Atlanta to Raleigh or Charlotte.
In an hour flight?
Really?
Hour flight, you can get through it.
Oh, well,
From the time that you sit down and that plane take off to the time that you land, you can read this whole book.
Well, pardon me. I didn't know. I was thinking, here to the Central Time Zone, you read
it 3 times over from Atlanta to LA.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it was intentionally done like that. I condensed the book from 20-some chapters or 30-some chapters to 11 chapters. And then I made those chapters very short.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't my intent to bombard people with my experiences and overdraw it out and overstay my welcome in your heart and mind. Like, it's a spiritual quest memoir. It's quick. It's easy to read. You're going to find some good things in it. Some good things to discuss. There's some areas where you can write thoughts and reflections as well. And you can hit me on social media on Threads, and you can hit me on the DM and IG if you got questions, if you just want to converse about the book too.
Yeah.
So Unity is the Shift. That is the book that the wifey is talking about. My first self-published book. Won't be my last.
Right.
But it's definitely a great resource. And I'll continue to talk about that more. And also, as I finish the certification up for becoming a certified deaf doula, end-of-life doula, and then offering different services in 2025. So, be on the lookout for a lot of this great, life-changing, and enhancing information, services, and experiences to be shared. Can I Talk My Shift podcast, hosted by Lashawn G. Walker, Sam Walker, your boy. And we are on YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple. We are on Amazon. We're everywhere where podcasts can be streamed. Yeah.
I think our littlest co-host is ready to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
If you hear her, she's saying thank you. She's sending her gratitude. We appreciate you joining us in this episode, and we'll see you in the next episode of Can I Talk My Shift?
Yep. Season 3, episode 4. Consistency is key. And we unlocking the door.
I love you.
I love you too. I love y'all. Till next time. Thank you for sticking with us. And yeah, we'll see y'all in the next episode for sure.